This is MLB Now. We are the show for the thinking fan. Hello, everybody. I'm Adnan Burke, stepping in for Brian Kenny. We have a great show for you today. Joining me will be John Heyman, Steve Phillips, and Rays broadcaster Rich Hollenberg on the panel. We'll talk to Sarah Langs a little later in the show as well, taking up the Blue Jays and Yankees at 1:10 Eastern. The Yankees are one of the teams off to a fast start at 6-1. Pirates and Tigers are two other surprise one-loss teams. On the other side, the Mets are just 1-5, and the Marlins are 0-8. But much like a diet, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Not sure if that's the exact tagline for Weight Watchers, but certainly apropos when watching the early season starts in Major League Baseball and weighing their significance. The saying goes you can't win a pennant in April, but you can certainly lose one if you put yourself too far behind the 8 ball. But is having an underwhelming start really that damning? Let's do a little digging in. Take the Philadelphia Phillies from just 2 years ago. They started out 21-29, and the always ornery Philly faithful were ready to boo Santa Claus 6 months in advance. But Joe Girardi got the heave-ho, and the Phillies flipped the switch. Sure, 87 wins wasn't overwhelming, but they won the pennant, which no one saw coming 50 games in. 5 years ago, the Washington Nationals also had a brutal 50-game start, even worse than the Phillies at 19-31. But riding the right arm of Steven Strasburg and the brilliance of Anthony Rendon, and how dated does that sentence sound? Armed with an attitude, they captured one of the best World Series in recent memory, an instant 7-game classic. One more ignominious start for your examination. The Tampa Bay Rays of 2011 won just one of their first 9 games, but it didn't matter one bit. They won another 90, finished 91-71, and made the playoffs in that memorable last day of the season when Evan Longoria hit that walk-off home run. Shout out to Steve Berthew with that call. So how about the other side of the ledger? Teams that come out like gangbusters and appear virtually unstoppable. Just last year, well, there are 2 teams who had hot starts. Now, I don't think most of us felt like the Pittsburgh Pirates could maintain a sizzling 20-8 start, and ultimately they finished 10 games under 500 and missed the playoffs. By the way, don't look now. Here come the Bucks to tantalize us again after a 6-1 start here in 2024. But really, if there's a cautionary tale that a blistering start doesn't mean you can start planning the parade early, it's those Rays again from a year ago. Kevin Cash's team was 13-0, and it seemed inevitable they'd finally win a World Series. Until they didn't, losing the wild card series to the Rangers. It wasn't their offense that let them down. They were second in the league in most major offensive categories by the World Series champion Rangers. And again this year have shown a propensity to bash the long ball. But can their pitching withstand the absence of Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, and Jeffrey Springs, not to mention the excess of Tyler Glasnow? We'll know the answer in October. For now, taking a page from Katy Perry's songbook, well, when you're hot and you're cold, you're yes and you're no. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just like that irritating freshman 15 you've been trying to lose since college. I want to know what you think on X at MLB Now. What team have you changed your opinion on the most since the start of the season? And I want to hear from our panel, John Heyman, Steve Phillips, and Rich Hollenberg. Do we put too much stock in early season results? Rich, you're our guest. Take it away.
Well, Adnan, it's a great question, and I think the simplest answer is yes. Yeah. And the reason I say yes is because now we're playing a balanced schedule, right? Even your division rivals, you're only playing 13 times a year. But then you look at what the Rays did last year. You talked about it. 13-0 equaled 99 wins. So I think that you could lay the groundwork for a great season early on. But the Rays also went 8-16 in July and lost 7 straight, and that allowed the Orioles to come back and win that division. I don't think it was so much that the Rays got hot and then cold last year. I think it was that the Orioles proved to be the better team over the long run in that division.
I'm still thinking about the freshman 15. I don't.
Steve, you look great. Come on, svelte as ever.
Wish we were as fat as we were the first time we thought we were fat. I mean, we would all sign up for that right now. I mean, I would. So, look, I think that you're right, Rich. Not always does it mean something, but sometimes it means something, right? We only know what it means when we find out what it means down the road. And so for some teams, the slow start doesn't mean anything. I wrote the Phillies off the last 2 years. In June, I said, the last 2 years, I said, Phillies are dead. They're dead. They're done. And Ruben Amaro's like, dude, you're doing this again? And I did, but they came back. Remember, the one year they did it was when Bryce Harper broke his hand. He was out for a period of time, and they still came back and made it to the playoffs. So it's a long season. The first week doesn't mean everything or anything, really, right? They're early on, struggles, guys playing well. They'll run their course a little bit, but sometimes it does mean something.
John, how do you see it?
Well, first, Steve is a smart guy because I was going to bring up the Phillies and I was going to really make fun of him, but he's completely.
If you hold the joke first.
The
I'm
whole
from
thing.
Detroit. It was the M&M thing. I get out in front of it.
Very smart.
Thank you.
You should be a lawyer. I take it case by case. I think in the Marlins case, it doesn't look. If you're 0-8, that's a problem. If you're 0-3, 0-4, no. But 0-8, off of a magical season, first team ever to make the playoffs and start 0-8. I think they're in trouble. But normally, I'm not going to judge too much on the first week or even the first month.
Yeah, the biggest percentage decrease in 2024 postseason odds. The Marlins, to your point, John, already down 21%. They started 27.9, according to Fangraphs. The Mariners and the Jays, the Astros and the Twins and the Rays all relatively in trouble here. Of those 6 teams, then, Rich, let's put it that way. Which of those teams are you most concerned about after their start?
I think Heyman hit it. I mean, the Marlins, who last year were a pleasant surprise, I guess you'd call them, now they're getting injury woes, adding injury to insult, and that's a pretty good division that they're dealing with. I think they're in trouble, and I think this is an indicator of how much trouble they're in.
See, I look at the Mariners and the Blue Jays, and both about 12, 13% decrease. Their offenses are horrible right now. Like, you look at the Mariners, they thought they fixed their offense by reducing the number of strikeouts, yet they're still striking out. They're not producing runs. In Toronto, they thought we're going to get better this year because we're going to internally improve our offense. They tried for Bellinger. They tried for Ohtani. They settled and settled and settled. They don't have Matt Chapman. They have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. When you keep settling, at some point, it's too little offense. And now they need Vladdy and Bichette to be stars, like superstars, and then hope the complementary guys around them are enough to blend an offense together. I look at the Mariners and Blue Jays, and I worry for both of them right now because of the lack of offense.
Yeah, I kept thinking to myself, Springer has to have a much better year. Varsho as well, Kirk
And all those guys need to be better.
And they're all struggling right now.
Yeah. Let's go to the other side of the ledger, John. How about teams that have looked good so far? I mean, the Yankees, people are already planning the parade here in New York City. The odds have gone from 71 to 83.
Yeah.
The Guardians, they're hitting the ball really well right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes the cliches are right. I think you can write teams off with a terrible start, but I'm not going to read too much into a very good start. Obviously, the Pirates, this is 2 years in a row for the Pirates to start off great, so I'm not going to get carried away with that. I do like the Tigers. I mean, I do think they're going to be a much improved team, and they're in a division that is potentially winnable. I do think the Twins are the favorite in that division. Mm-hmm. I do want to make a point on the Jays, though. Sure. Very weird offseason. I mean, they go for Ohtani. They don't get Ohtani. Do we now get Bellinger or somebody really good like Bellinger who's going to really help our offense? Yeah. They ended up getting nice, versatile type players like IKF. They brought back Kiermaier, but, I mean, they had to figure their offense is going to go down, right? I mean, they lost Chapman. Obviously, he was hurt last year, didn't have his usual year. But, I mean, you go from Ohtani to utility guys, basically good utility guys. I mean, to me, they were a team that was ripe to go down a little bit.
Yeah, and last year underachieving with 89 wins. So to even go down a little bit further, there's no margin for error right now when you're on the precipice of the wild card. So we'll see. I think the Guardians, Steve, are a great story, though. The fact they're leading the league in runs scored, I was not expecting that.
50 runs scored, 5 home runs.
Yeah.
Like, it's death by 1,000 cuts with them, right? They single you to death, but they're doing it right now. Josh Naylor the other day drove in 3 runs and didn't get on base.
Yeah.
2 sac flies and a ground ball to score a run. Situational hitting. And when you put the ball in play, it allows you to get some of those cheap RBIs. The swing and miss teams, the Minnesota Twins, they're averaging over 10 strikeouts a game right now. They struck out 15 times in the game yesterday. Yeah. You're not going to get those extra runs. They lose 4-2 because with runners on base, they had the bases loaded. Nobody else struck out 3 times in a row and never pick up the cheap RBI.
Love the Naylor brothers, too, the Guardians. And by the way, Marlins minus 30 run differential right now. That is a recipe for disaster. Still to come here, who would you rather have? The Yankees duo of Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge, or the Royals duo of Cole Reagans and Bobby Witt Jr.? Counselor, you start.
Well, I'm going to take Cole Reagans and Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, here's the reality. You look at the numbers from last year to this year with Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr., they're almost identical offensive players, and that doesn't take into account Bobby Witt Jr.'s stolen base factor, which is off the charts and much better than Aaron Judge. Then you look at the health factor. Garrett Cole's not healthy. He's on the 60-day IL. Cole Reagans right now is one of the most dominating young pitchers in the game, a power left-hander. I look at Witt Jr. and Reagans as certainly right up there with some of the best duos in baseball today. And I got a shortstop right there. And here's the thing. The playoffs, once you get there, it's a crapshoot. And so the reality is that I've got these 2 young guys for the long term that are going to be better long term right now than where Cole and Judge are for the long term. Bobby Witt Jr. and Cole Reagans are the better value and impact both in 2024 and beyond.
Well, you should be a lawyer. As I said earlier,
I am playing the role of one today.
Well, it's not only playing the role. You should be a lawyer to be able to take on this case. I mean, you have a terrible case, and you've done it magnificently. I'm shocked. Cole Ragans, I'll give a couple numbers with Ragans versus Garrett Cole. Cole Ragans has won 7 career games.
Sure.
So we really don't know what we're getting. Garrett Cole has finished in the top 2 in Cy Young 6 times, top 5 in Cy Young.
Yet he may be finished for the rest of the year. Yes.
No, he's coming back June 1st. I just saw him in Houston. He feels great. He was the best pitcher in baseball last year, led the league in almost everything except for strikeouts. And then we're talking about Aaron Judge. He's the best hitter in baseball. I don't think there's any real debate over that. Hit a 192 WRC plus since 2022, 15 points higher than Yordan Alvarez, who is an unbelievable hitter. Plus, Judge is a good center fielder, does everything well. I mean, I get it. You're taking a flyer here. It's a bad case. You made a great argument. If you win this, it's you. You've done it.
It's not just the arguments that I liked. I liked a little bit of trash talk that John was throwing at Steve. Verdict goes to John. I like that.
Oh, my God. So trash talking is, okay.
I'm a judge that likes a little nasty
You did
stuff.
a fantastic job to take that case.
I did not know the scouting report on my Judge. Now I understand.
Muck around the dirt a little bit. That's going to help you. This week we had a couple of milestones. Mookie Betts got his 1500th hit. Bryce Harper scored his 1,000th career run. So, John Heyman, who do you think has the best career when it's all said and done? Mookie or Bryce? Your opening statement.
Well, I mean, obviously, Bryce Harper is a terrific player, very clutch. Certainly has lit Philadelphia on fire and made Steve look wrong twice. So I admire him for that. Yeah. But, I mean, Mookie Betts, his WAR, they're both 31 years old. One guy has a WAR of 66, the other 46. 20 points higher at the same age. Mookie Betts, obviously much more versatile. He's attempting to play shortstop. It's incredible. To be a great right fielder, one of the 2 best right fielders in the game, come in and play second base, be fantastic at second. Now he's going to shortstop, and so far he's been pretty good at that. And at bat, he's been better than everybody. Leads everybody in every stat right now across the board. Walks, strike, home runs, all of the rate stats, leads in everything. So if he gets to MVP or 1 or 2 this year, now he's leading now for MVP, I'm sure, but if he's 1 or 2 in MVP, it's 5 times 1 or 2 MVP. Harper's done it twice. He won twice. Great player, clutch player, really helped out Philly, but I mean, Mookie Betts is a better player. I mean, come on.
All right, Steve.
Not a better player. Right now, Bryce Harper's 143 OPS plus in his career. Mookie Betts a 139 OPS plus. Mookie Betts' WAR is really where it is because of his defense. Now, you look at his defense at shortstop, he's going to be a negative defensive WAR player at shortstop this year. I'm telling you, he is not going to be an above-average defensive shortstop. I look at long term, I think Bryce Harper's longevity, his offensive game has more legs to it than Mookie Betts does. The power factor. You're going to end up with 600 home runs with Bryce Harper at the end of his career. Probably maybe 500 home runs for Mookie Betts at the most. And I look at the overall run production right now. You're going to get more RBIs, more runs scored, and more home runs from Bryce Harper in the long term. And the only difference in WAR is Mookie Betts' defense in right field. And now that's mitigated by the fact he's a shortstop. And then when you look at the years moving forward, Harper's game will last longer than Mookie Betts' game. So I think in the long run, Harper's the better bet.
Harper currently at 309 home runs. My verdict goes to Steve. I'm all in on Bryce Harper. All right, we're even right now.
Argument. Once again, had no case and pulled it out. He's like Johnny Cochran.
I love that. Excellent reference. On Wednesday, Yordan Alvarez, Shohei Ohtani, and Aaron Judge all hit their first home runs of the season. So who has the best 2024? Steve, your opening statement.
If the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah,
all right, so here's the thing. I'm going to go with the guy. Look, I think Yordan Alvarez is the best of these 3. I do. I think he is on the verge of a huge breakout. We haven't even come close to seeing what his best game is right now. I think Ohtani, with all the stuff he's dealing with right now, I think it's going to impact him offensively no matter what, even with the good lineup out there. I love Aaron Judge. I think he's great with Soto there. But I think when you look at the depth of the lineup for the Houston Astros and the impact of Yordan Alvarez, his ability to drive the baseball, he hits righties, he hits lefties, he can drive it out of the ballpark. The Crawford boxes in left field match up with a short porch in right field for Judge. I look at Yordan Alvarez as being the best offensive player in baseball this year. And he's playing out in the field as well, in left field. I think that he is going to be the MVP in the American League. He's the best of the three and will have the best season.
I had a great moment the other day, by the way, with Chris Bassett, who he always torches. Even Bassett will come in and feel is laughing at down like, man, you got me again. Even the other pitchers are like, you got to tip your hat to this guy.
Listen, that alone should give him the victory. Go ahead, John.
Well, once again, well said, well spoken. Again, he's got the worst of the two cases. He's a better lawyer than I am, apparently. But, Aaron Judge is the best hitter in baseball. As I said, WRC plus since 2022, 192.
2 years ago, he had 62 home runs, but that's not the same guy he is this year.
That's through the year. Well, they played a few games, but neither one of them
wasn't that guy last year.
All three off to slow starts.
Is he allowed a rebuttal?
Go ahead, finish your statement.
I've watched enough debates to know how to jump in here.
It's not just 2022, it's since 2022, so that included last year. Overall, 163 OPS plus for Judge. That's better than Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Stan Musial. He's clearly the best hitter in baseball. There really shouldn't be a debate. And he's playing in a tough park for him to hit as well. So he's the best hitter. He's playing center field. He's a good center fielder. He's got speed. He's got a great arm. Yordan Alvarez is a DH. Now, he's a great hitter. He's a DH.
Yeah.
Playing left field. You really can't compare the two overall as players. Judge is the better player. And statistically, I know he's very glib. He's a very good speaker. Statistically, we're looking at the numbers here. Judge has been the better hitter over Alvarez in their career.
In fact, he called you glib. Verdict goes to Heyman. I'm telling you right now.
I don't know that word.
Take a little shot.
I'll have to look it up.
He's a brilliant arguer. I just call names. It's not good. It's not fair. It's an ad hominem argument, as you know.
Listen, in theaters right now, Godzilla x Kong is the #1 movie. So Godzilla, Kong, you guys did a fantastic job. I love this meeting. All right, order of the court. Order of the court. I just want to hit my gavel. Still the come. Statcast powered by Google Cloud. We take a look at NTT Ballpark Cam, getting you set for some live baseball coming up. The Blue Jays and the Yankees cannot wait for the New York Yankees home openers. They are off to a blistering start so far. Marcus Stroman did not want to pitch an opening day for the Yankees overall against the Astros. He wanted to play at Yankee Stadium for the home debut against Yusei Kikuchi and the Toronto Blue Jays, whose offense has been scuffling out of the gate. That game is coming up once again just about 35 minutes from now. Got us to thinking about a matinee idol in terms of a matinee game. And there's a couple guys right now everyone's talking about. Certainly the love affair for Juan Soto will grow with his home debut in the Bronx. He's the reigning AL Player of the Week. As for Aaron Judge, off to a slow start by his standards, has gone deep at least once. But these two guys together, not only patrolling the outfield together, but also back-to-back in the lineup, making Yankee fans feel pretty good right now in pinstripes. Once again, Statcast powered by Google Cloud. When you look at ex-WOBA leaders since the start of 2022, Aaron Judge is #1. Yordan Alvarez, Steve Phillips has got it right there. Only .05 differential there. We need to go back on this jury.
Order in the court.
We're going to hung jury.
The case is over.
By the way, there are reports that Judge and Soto hit the ball so hard in batting practice today, the earth was shaking.
That's when there was an earthquake in
That's what caused it.
Now we figured out what's going on. But clearly, John, so far, having Soto and Judge together, it feels pretty special.
Absolutely. Soto almost always leads the league in walks. I don't think that's going to happen with Judge hitting behind him. He's going to get a lot more pitches to hit, so he's going to put up bigger numbers. I know people are talking about the stadium, the short porch being big for him. I'm not so sure that's a key factor for him because he goes the other way more than he pulls the ball, but I do think Judge behind him, who Judge is the best hitter as we established in the courtroom earlier, will help Soto huge.
And one play does not a season make, Steve, but that outfield assist, I didn't really think of Juan Soto in defense. That was a really great welcome to the Yankees moment.
Oh, my gosh. But the outfield assist, but made 2 sliding catches as well out there. And so his engagement in the game right now is at a higher level than I certainly saw it in San Diego, and probably even more than it was in D.C. But what he'll bring to that lineup, the on-base, the traffic he's going to put on in front of Aaron Judge, there's no telling what Judge's number is going to be. And quite honestly, I want to hit Anthony Rizzo's spot. Yeah. That spot with the traffic between Soto and Judge on base, he's going to have a monster year as well.
Great point. Small sample right now, metric-wise, but Soto's defensive numbers are up so far in 2024. Let's talk Rays. Once again, Rich Hollenberg is with us. Does a great job on the Rays pre and post. You and Dougie Wechter, the rest of the crew, I tell you, I was watching this week. So for the Rays right now, it's fascinating, Rich. Every year we hear it, we watch them and go, come on, this is not the year. The Rays have to take a step down. The state of the Rays right now, let's start first with pitching, because that's my biggest area of concern. Sure. As good as their pitching has been, missing guys like McClanahan, the trade of Glass now, Rasmussen now, Springs out. How's it look?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Ed, because you just talked about more guys who are on the shelf than who are pitching, right. And that's been kind of the conversation coming into this season. Right. McClanahan's out for the year, obviously. They're expecting Jeffrey Springs back, maybe by July. They're expecting Drew Rasmussen back. Before those two guys, you had 2 youngsters, Shane Baz and Taj Bradley.
Right.
More questions for the starting rotation than in the decade plus that I've been covering this team over the starting rotation. Usually, like you said, the Rays' way of winning is run prevention. And Kyle Snyder, who is the pitching guru for the Rays, he always says the motto is it's a race to 2 strikes. Everybody on this staff, starters, relievers, they want to get to 2 strikes. Put the ball in the zone, let the defense play. They're going to get their fair share of strikeouts. This year, though, the one concerning number, I know it's a small sample size, only 7 games played, they've walked 30 batters already. That's the 5th most in Major League Baseball, and that is not a Kyle Snyder type of a staff. So I think they're going to right the ship in that. And we call it the psychology of the schedule, right? Last year they start 13-0. They play virtually all last place teams in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. This season they start, even though it's at home, they start with 2 playoff teams, Texas and Toronto. Now they go to Colorado. We'll see if things level off for the Rays and the pitching staff.
Rotation right now, 3.93 ERA, Steve. How do you see it?
I think that they figure it out. I mean, the questions about the starting rotation, well, they'll throw an opener in there. I mean, so that's just how they do it. They always get the most out of what they have. They get more of what any of us think they have on the talent on the roster. I never want to doubt them. And so, sure, a little bit of a rocky start. They didn't throw a lot of strikes. They will. And because they have a lot of depth in the bullpen, it allows them to take a starter out when they want to take him out. They can go with an opener and protect it. Got a lot of different options there. And I think that they're going to end up scoring some runs as they get a little healthier. They're missing Josh Lowe in that lineup right now. Yeah. Brandon Lau ends up having to come out with abdominal or sore back or something. So they've got a lot of different issues there. Junior Caminero coming up at some point there. They're going to score some runs. Yeah. And remember, last year, the other thing, they had a lot of home runs early in the season. They were like 28th in home runs in 2022. And then last year, here comes this team that's powder in the baseball. I'm not ever going to doubt them. They're going to be in the mix at the end of the year for a playoff spot.
6th in homers last year, John. They can mash the ball.
Yeah, I'm with Steve. They'll figure it out. I haven't figured them out. I had them out of the playoffs for the last 20 years in a row, and I'm not exaggerating. I was wrong most of those years. Now I'm finally saying I'm giving up. They're going to be a playoff team. Right. They have a lot of pitching talent that's going to come back, and they're going to be much better going forward. And they have that secret weapon. It shouldn't be secret, right? Kyle Snyder, that's pitching coach in baseball, I think. And, I've given up on myself, but I'm not going to give up on the Rays.
And I will double down on the offense, what Steve was saying. Yeah. Last year, they were 4th in the American League in home runs, 2nd in the American League in steals. Again, small sample size, but 7 games in, they're right in the top 3 in both of those categories again. As a matter of fact, here's a good nugget for you. The first 6 games of the season, the Rays had at least a home run and at least a steal in each of those games. That ties a modern major league record. So they're doing the same thing offensively, albeit without some of the talent that they had last year. Another name to look for from the left side, Jonathan Aranda. He was scorching in spring training, and he's been killing AAA baseball the last couple of years. They're expecting him to be a major contributor this year. When both of those guys, he and Josh Lowe, get healthy, then they'll be really frisky from the left side.
Last thought on the Rays offense, because everyone feels like they're underappreciated, but is there anybody more underappreciated than Yandy Diaz? The guy's a batting champion. No one even talks about him.
Yeah, we obviously are a little myopic, but we feel like he was last year the best leadoff hitter in the American League. You look at Mookie Betts, obviously Mookie's a different category. Ronald Acuna Jr., a different category. Those guys are in the National League. Give me Yandy Diaz, career high in home runs. He's not going to steal you a lot of bases, but because of the runs created by the rest of this lineup, he was motoring around station to station all year long last year, and he's off to virtually the same start this year.
OBP over 400, 2022 and 2023. Just to close the Rays talk, can you give me a Rosarena crossing your arm? Just to, there you go. Now
that's good.
Randy Land. Randy Land Friday nights at Tropicana Fields. It's a sight to be seen.
We got to make a road trip. Randy Land, me and Heyman, it's going to be great. All right, so to talk more about this Dodgers blistering offense, bringing my old friend Sarah Langs, always does an outstanding job on MLB.com, putting things into historical perspective. Sarah, I know you know these numbers better than anybody. So this Dodgers offense, when you can say MVP, 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 not once, not twice, but thrice, when you're talking about Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts, just how good has this offense been when you think about baseball history?
Oh my goodness. First of all, thanks so much for having me. Always so much fun to reunite with you. They have scored 5 runs in every game they've played so far. That is 9 games so far this season. They're the 6th team since 1900 to score at least 5 runs in each of their first 9 games. The record since 1900 is 13 games by the 1932 Yankees. We had not seen a team do this since Cleveland in 2002. And by the way, if we want to go back prior to 1900, our old friends, the 1884 Chicago, St. Louis Maroons, they did this in 17 trades to start this season. You may remember them from the Rays last year. They hold the all-time record for most consecutive wins to start a season. But either way, this offense has been absolutely outstanding, doing things we have not seen in a very, very long time.
Reaching way back to 1884. I love it, Sarah. The pre-dead ball era, as it were. Spencer Strider looks like one of those guys that could have been a part of that era, that old mustache, that gunslinger look. The fewest to 500 strikeouts. Just how impressive has the Brave starter been?
Oh, my goodness. So he is 9 strikeouts away from 500 in his career, as you mentioned. He has thrown only 325 and 2/3 innings so far, the fewest innings to reach 500 strikeouts among guys to mostly be started in those first 500 strikeouts is 372. By Freddie Peralta, I do not foresee a way that Spencer Strider does not absolutely smash this record. Possibly tonight, he has been so impressive, and it is just a joy to watch.
I couldn't agree more. He had a curveball as well, if he needed more weapons, that arsenal. Jackson Chourio, Sarah, at a young age, listen, he signs an 8-year, $82 million contract before he even plays the major leagues, but it looks like that contract could be a bargain. Just how special has he been?
He has gone to hit in every game he has played so far, and he's just 20 years old. Hit that first home run the other day, becoming the youngest player to homer in the majors since Juan Soto back in 2018, the youngest Brewer to homer since Gary Sheffield in 1988. And perhaps my favorite thing, he was the youngest guy to homer in April since Adrian Beltre in 1999. And I think that tells you all you need to know about the fact he is up already, and he is doing this not in September, not as a call-up, but in April, helping his team from the start of the season. And I love the joy he plays with. You can see he's really enjoying everything, and he really seems like he should be here. So it's been so wonderful to watch.
Yeah, only 6 AAA games is absolutely insane to have this kind of impact right out of the gate. And one more youngster for you, Jared Jones, the number 3 Pirates pitching prospect. He pitches tonight, O's at home. What have you made of Jones so far?
Oh my goodness, he was really fun in spring training. We saw that field, hoping he would make the team, and he did. In his first start, he had 22 swings and misses. That is the most swings and misses by any pitcher in his major league debut since we've been tracking pitches, which goes back to 2008. And that's really impressive if you think about it. He broke a record that was set in 08 in one of the first days of that pitch tracking by Johnny Quaid. And we'll look at Shota Imanaga. Just a few days later, he tied for 3rd on that list. It's been really, really cool to see these guys impressing early. And I love Jared Jones talking about Paul Skeens the other day, and about how he deserves to be up there too. And I know we'll see him soon. And maybe he'll break that 22 record.
Yeah, the game is certainly in good shape with youngsters like these. Sarah Langs, her infectious enthusiasm for baseball knows no bounds, and she continues to be a tireless advocate for ALS research. Great to catch up as always, my friend. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks so much for having me, Adnan.
Time now for the Thinking Fan here on MLB Now. Our question today, which team have you changed your opinion on the most since the start of the season? At MLB Now, Sean Murphy, the Pirates, wow, they may have something real this year. 6-1 Pirates, they're loving them. Okay, reverse Viking, I don't think the Red Sox will be as terrible as expected the way their pitching looks. A lot of love for Andrew Bailey right now, breaking ball, heavy offense. Dave H, Jays, They stink offensively.
Adnan, I'm sorry.
It's been tough so far. Ronel Blanco killing us. And then Jim says, none of them. Give it another week. Okay.
Saw your essay to start the show today.
Right. Exactly. And in here, I was excited about my Mariners. Now I'm scared to watch. Trainwreck. That's one of the Amy Schumer, by the way. Trainwreck. Good movie.
Good movie.
And table setters. Brewers. Churro is for real. Offense seems better than expected. A few solid pitchers in the pen. Success will depend a lot on how well the rotation holds up. Yeah, Brewers can make some moves. And Lee here, it's so early, but seeing the way the Yankees work at bats and took 6 of 7 in Houston, Arizona, cannot be ignored. All right, appreciate all those responses.
They're savages in the box.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Aaron Boone. Time now for managerial check. Speaking of managers, new Mets manager Carlos Mendoza put the bunt sign on in both ends of the doubleheader. So game 1, bottom 10, runner in second, asking Brett Beatty to bunt. Just one sacrifice in his pro career. He can't get it down. Mets don't score, they lose. Steve, everyone saying, why would you bunt?
Well, with tie game and it's the home team, I'm okay with the bunt right there. You need one run to be able to win the game. So I don't mind that at all. But the failure of the minor league system is Brett Beatty only having one attempt in his entire career. That's not player development. He should know how to bunt. Starling Marte knows how to bunt.
Exactly. In game 2, bottom line, they asked Marte to bunt. He gets it down. That works. And then Tyrone Taylor walks it off. So in one example, it works. In one example, it does not work, John. Carlos Mendoza, a little small ball in Queens. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's his first week on the job. I hate to say anything negative, but, I mean, to me, Beatty's a left-handed hitter. He should be able to get the ball to the right side at the very least. So, I didn't love that bunt. I do think Mendoza's going to be great.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. Personality, which is the most important thing for a manager, I think he will be great. Didn't love that first.
Rich?
I'm not used to seeing bunts. Kevin Cash doesn't call bunts very often. 7th fewest in the league last year. I think this is a perfect argument for what rules baseball, your gut or analytics. And we all know that analytics has taken over much more than your gut instinct.
Right.
To your point, Carlos Mendoza is a new manager. He's going to trust the analytics maybe more than his gut. If analytics say you bunt there, you bunt there. The good news for him, it was a doubleheader. He got a mulligan, and it worked the second time around.
And like you said, Steve, you don't have an issue with the approach, but Beatty only one bunt in his career.
I mean, really, that's the issue. Isn't that he didn't get it down? It's that why was he not more practiced at it?
Right.
When I ran the Mets, and I remember this. Greg Jeffries, I played with in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Got to the big leagues. First game in the major leagues, Davey Johnson had him sack bunt, and he failed at it. And he said, I never was asked to bunt before in my life. He was the third hitter. He'd bang it off the wall all the time. I said, well, that's a failure of a minor league system. Yeah. When I was there, I made sure every single player sack, bunt, and hit and run during the course of the season. I didn't care whether you were the 4th hitter in the lineup or the leadoff hitter or the 9th hitter in the lineup, because when you get to the big leagues, you're a 7th hitter in the lineup, and you're counted on to do the little things to help your team win. If you didn't practice it, then you didn't do your job as a farm system.
Yeah, I don't think that's only the Mets, though. I think other teams, they look at Beatty as a big power hitter. I know he didn't do it last year, but, they looked at him as a potential number 4 hitter. So I don't think Alonso knows how to bunt, but I think that's not only the Mets. That's probably every team in baseball, right?
But you can just imagine fans just screaming at the television. God, he can't bunt. Just swing away.
I did the same thing with pitchers. We had a guy get to the big leagues, and he said he was only a starter in the minor leagues. He came out of the bullpen. He's like, I didn't know how to warm up. I never practiced it before. I'm like, at that point, every single pitcher would get time in the bullpen so that when they did get to the big leagues, if they were a reliever, they would know how to warm up and come into a game in the middle of a game.
Yeah. All right. Time now for a little gut reaction. And we kick things off first talking about the Royals rotation. Their starting rotation, a 1.43 ERA, second best in baseball. Steve, I'm going to you because you love Cole Reagans, and look how good the staff has been.
I do.
Better than Garrett Cole.
The staff's pitching great, too. Now, here's the amazing thing. They're second in ERA. Their bullpen, though, is third worst in baseball right now with a 7 ERA right now. And so, listen, they're not winning a lot of games because the bullpen has given up some of those games.
Rotation averaging almost a strikeout per inning, and they were aggressive. J.J. Picola getting Walker, getting Lugo. Right. Hopefully Singer can get back to the guy he was a couple of years ago.
Well, I give them a ton of credit for being so aggressive in the winter, and Sherman, the owner, spending so much money in Kansas City. Waka, Lugo, certainly on offense, they brought in a Frazier, they brought in the right fielder. I give them credit. They were really bad last year. I think they're pretty good this year. I actually do.
106 losses a year ago. We'll see how much they can improve. Next up, the team with the best starting ERA is the Astros, in part because of what they did to the Blue Jays offense. No hitter on Monday, just 1 run on Tuesday, then a 1-hitter on Wednesday. Rich, an AL East rival of your Rays, concern level right now about the Blue Jays offense.
Well, I think the dirty little secret for this Blue Jays team, first of all, I think their window is shrinking because of the contracts of Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero. But all of those dudes are hitting well below 250 right now. The top of that lineup, which looks like it should be a world beater, Springer, Vlad, Bo, they're all hitting almost below the Mendoza line at this point. Yeah. A lot of people think, wow, this offense is so great. It was their pitching that led them to the playoffs last year. Right. It looks like it's going to have to be their pitching that's going to have to pick up the slack this year.
Cosman, Barrios, Bassett, et cetera. Steve, how about the stats in the Orioles AAA system, right? This is how loaded they are right now. With Jackson Holiday did not make the big club. Then you got Mayo, Kierstead, Norby, and Kyle Stowers. This is amazing.
Here's the thing. Heston Kierstead has 21 RBIs already. 5 games into the season, 21 RBIs. He had 10 in one game. I mean, this AAA team could be a major league team right now and beat a lot of major league teams.
This is why they killed everybody in spring training. I mean, I saw them 3 times. They won all 3 games huge, particularly when you get that second group coming in here. They're all dynamite. I mean, obviously, Holiday's a major league player now. I think Kierstad's a major league player. They just have so many good players. They don't know what to do with them, apparently.
Yeah, had a great spring, like you said. One more, we'll so quickly slide in here. Jonathan Loaizaga, 60 days right now in the IL. John, that's not a good sign.
What a shame. I mean, this guy has terrific talent. I mean, what great stuff. He could be a star, and he's just been bitten by the injury bug. Once again, big loss. I mean, Hamilton's looked really good out of the pen, obviously. The closer's solid. Their bullpen has really been one of the main reasons why they've been so good. 4 comeback wins. They won 1 game in the 9th. They won 1 game in extra innings, but it's a big loss for the Yankees.
I believe Santana has the corresponding move as well now, so we'll see what happens with regards to the bullpen. All right, that's gut reaction. Good stuff, fellas. Think baseball just for Rich. Which Rays pitcher? No. Yeah, you have to get this right. We can never do the show again.
My goodness.
Which Rays pitcher has the highest single-season win probability added in franchise history? So, did the most to help the team win the most?
It is a speed limit enforcement of 100 kilometers ahead of about 400 meters. It is a speed limit enforcement of 100 kilometers ahead of about 200 meters.